hello, everybody. What's going on? And welcome to another edition of Speak Out Loud, the story behind the brand. I'm so excited to have you joining me again. This is season 2, right? So we are excited about what's happening on season 2. Oh, I'm excited. Got a lot of cool things happening. Man, last week's guest, man, we had so much fun. I had Dr. Diane Carter on the show last week, and she has her brand new fire book. I just want y'all to know, y'all need to get that book and read it, because I have to take moments to read her book because I was so emotional. It's a page turner. As long as I've known her, I just didn't know she went through the things that she went through. And so it's so good. And so today I have another awesome author, but she also is kind of like my friend too. Like I'll be having all my friends on the show, right? But she is my friend. And I'm super excited to talk with her about this beautiful project she does. I know that the project that she wrote about, I know it's for true because I worked with her. So I know what she's all about. But anyway, let's get started. If you're ready, I'm ready. Let's speak out loud.
You're watching Speak Out Loud, the story behind the brand.
About that. See how modest she is, y'all? But let's go. So roasted crickets, I'm like, not eating that.
Yeah.
Consistency.
Every day showing up, even when you don't feel like it.
And now your host, Lynette Jackson.
That's right. I am your host of this awesome podcast called Speak Out Loud, the story behind the brand. So for all those that know me, what's going on? Happy Tuesday to you. It's podcast day. But you might be tuning in today. You may be scrolling and you might say, who is this person? Well, let me introduce myself to you. My name is Lynette Jackson, and I'm the owner of Roar Media Group. Roar is a digital marketing company that helps its clients speak out loud in the marketplace with graphics, websites, strategic plans, voiceovers, videos. The reason why I started this company, because there was a need to provide quality graphics for small businesses at affordable prices. And I do it for small businesses, churches, and ministries. And I would love the opportunity to do it for you. And so if you're interested in having a free consultation with us, just log on to our website, roarmediagroup.com, and schedule your free consultation. Yeah, it is free. It really is free. I spend time with you. I do a discovery call with you, and we just try to figure out how we can get you to speak out loud in the marketplace. I want to ask you guys to like and share this podcast, like subscribe to our YouTube channel, like and share, because sharing is caring. We want to really get folks to see the show, because we bring so many amazing guests on, and we're helping them speak out loud in the marketplace about what their story is. There's always a story behind the brand, and that's why today we're going to be talking with a really cool chick who wrote a book. And it is the story. It is her life. It is who she is. She oozes this sort of information, and I love her to life. But before we bring her on, I have to share a message from Word Wise Up.
If you're looking for a t-shirt that would help you spread God's word, look no further. Word Wise Up t-shirts are a great way to share your faith with others and help support a good cause. For every t-shirt sold, donations will be given to the End Time Harvest Christian Center Boys Orphanage in Kenya. This shirt feeds. It feeds spiritually, physically, and financially. Check out our website today, wordwiseup.com, to learn more about how you can help us make a difference in the world.
That's right. So, Word Wise Up is a company, it's apparel that speaks. And so, if you're looking for some really cool shirts and some apparel to wear that shares your faith, log on to that website, wordwiseup.com. All right, let's get into today's show. So, let me just kind of set this up a little bit. So, well, you know what? I think I want to set it up with her on camera. I don't want to think I want to say these things without her being on camera. And I'm going to make a shout out to Kyle Vaughn. If you are listening or watching, I saw your thumbs up. Thanks. You know, we very close, meaning my guest. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, I want to introduce to some and present to others my good friend, Miss Michelle Small. What's up, Michelle?
What's up? Hey!
How are you?
I'm wonderful. Thank you.
Yes, you are wonderful.
Oh, you're wonderful.
My older sister.
By 2 days, yeah.
Not by 2 days. Is it 2 days? Is it?
So.
Is it? No, I think it's a week.
A week and 2 days.
A week and 2 days.
Yeah.
Okay, because I'm the youngest.
Yeah. Yes. Mm-hmm.
How are you, my sister?
I am good. And along with you, I want to give, if Kyle's listening, hey, Kyle.
Hey, Kyle. All right. So I'm going to set this up for us,
Okay.
right? So I met this beautiful sister. We both worked for Cox Media Group. And I guess I may have been I don't know. I guess a person would have this type of reaction if you were coming to the rescue. But I remember my very first day at work. First day at work, right?
Don't tell that story.
I'm going to tell that story because people have to know. They have to know that this is real. This is authentic. So I'm telling the story. So my first day, I think Jeff was the one. He'd take me over to the corporate office and he introduced. Oh, you're going to be working alongside with this lady, Michelle Small. She's great. She's this, and you said she gonna help me out. she gonna support Rich. Oh, and I'll never forget. I was shocked, but this woman ran and chest bumped me to say, yeah, you know how football players make a goal and they make a score and they make touchdown and they run and they chest bump each other. This chick chest bumped me, and I knew from the moment she did that, I'm like, this one and I are going to get along. We are going to get along really, really well. Because who does that on the first? Who does that on somebody's first day at work, right? Who does that on someone's first day? I have loved you from the first chest bump, from the hugs, from the cries, from the loves. I've loved you from the moment we said hello to each other, Miss Michelle. I thank God for you. And you made my time at Cox Media Group, you made it very, very fun.
Yes, we did have fun.
We had a lot of fun.
Yes,
so, Michelle, now that I've embarrassed you.
Thank you. Yeah.
I have embarrassed you, but that's okay. That's what we do here on our show, right? We make it fun. But here's the thing. I always ask all of my guests, I ask them what I call the 4 clarity questions, right? Who are you? What do you do? Why do you do it? And who, Michelle, do you have the pleasure of doing it for?
Okay. Well, as you know, as I've been so grandly introduced, I'm Michelle Small, and I do have not only wrote a book, but I have a business, and the business is Courageous Me. And that business consists of 3 main components. I am a personal and a professional life coach. I'm a certified life coach. And I work with leaders, both in corporate and in the nonprofit sector, to help them to see themselves, to get out of their head, to move forward, and recognize what they already have at their fingertips still work. So
Mhm.
that's the first part, is the life coaching, which I love. I also provide mentorship. Now, many people will ask, what's the difference between coaching and mentorship? And for me, coaching, you coach toward a specific goal. I want to lose weight. I want to learn how to speak Spanish. I want to learn. I need to accomplish a specific skill by a specific time.
Mhm.
But with a mentorship, it is, the goal is to come together to decide to help you with character building over
Mhm.
a long term. So with mentorship, it's a little bit more personal. The accountability is more personal. And then
Mhm.
on top of that, I also provide leadership and accountability training through life skills. And I have a series of classes called the Emergence, and
Mhm.
it's breaking free of the mind. One is breaking free of the soul, and another is breaking free of the body. The body.
Mhm.
And then, since I wrote a book, when I wrote the book, I decided to start my own publishing company. So I also have King's Publishing, which is what I publish my books out of. And that came about when I realized there were stories, not maybe it may not always be bestsellers, but stories that need to be told, our stories.
Mhm.
Even the story about the chest bump, there is a story behind that. You know, it was an exciting, that moment was so, it was a divine connection.
Yes.
And it was exciting to see someone that looked like me in an area that was not always very easy to get to,
Oh boy.
which is a whole
Yes.
nother show.
It's a whole nother
A whole
show.
nother show. So that's
Yes.
that's who I am. Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Oh my gosh. So you said a couple things here. So you
Uh-oh.
talked about Courageous Me.
Correct.
So tell us the story behind Courageous Me, because again, there's a story behind the brand. Break
Oh,
down what that means and why you named your consulting company Courageous Me.
well, Courageous Me, actually, I didn't name it. My children did. Um,
Wow.
Courageous because I was branching out. I had just moved to Georgia. I was starting my whole life over again. I was just coming out of divorce. I was raised in California, had never lived in the South, so that was a
Wow.
whole new adventure. Left my family pretty much in California. All of my family was in California, and my daughters really felt that that was courageous of me. And the me comes, people think it's because it's Michelle, but my grandchildren call me Mimi, so it's courageous me.
What? See there, they call you Mimi.
Yes.
So courageous, that well, that I think that speaks volumes, because there's so many people who are afraid to make steps and
Mhm.
to step out and do, and that's a big
It's
to
really big.
leave California and move all the way across country to a place that you've never been and maybe you didn't even know people, or you just, that was courageous.
Yes, it
Cour-
was pretty
and
courageous. I hadn't
courageous
even
me.
noticed. Yeah, it was. But then going back to what part of my goal is, when I mentor and do leadership classes, often the courage is in us, but sometimes we need someone else to help us find and pull
Mm.
out that courage
To wake up the sleeping giant in us.
and to start over. Especially, and
Mm.
one of the goals I have, because you asked who do I do it for, it's really leaders that sometimes get stuck.
Mm.
Maybe they're stuck in their business, their brand, their life. Maybe they had an accident or an incident that they feel they can't move forward from. Those are
Mm.
the people that I really love working with.
Yes, yes, yes. And sometimes they're stuck in their own head.
Stuck in your own head is the worst
Hmm.
place to be.
Yeah.
It
You can't
is.
even get a shovel to get you out. Like, wait, I'm
Right.
so stuck in my
You
head.
can be stuck in your apartment and somebody will come and get you out. But it's hard when you're stuck in your own head.
When you are stuck in your own head, I
Yeah.
know people who can't get out of the way of themselves in order to allow God to really use them.
Yes.
in a mighty, mighty way, and they're stuck in their head, and that's like a whole different place. I remember well, let me. It was my therapist that told me this. I had gone to therapy. I had to, because if I
Right.
didn't, I wouldn't be here today.
Right.
So I don't have no
Therapy and Jesus.
shame
Those
in
two
my.
work together. Absolutely.
Listen,
Yes.
and maybe one of those dinners that you and I have all the
Yes.
time. Because I tell you, them dinners that you and I used to. What was the name of that restaurant we would go to once a month?
Ipinitos.
Ipinitos?
Ipinitos. Yes.
Something. There's an Italian
Yeah.
restaurant.
Italian restaurant. With
Child, we
those
could shut that place
rolls.
down to get them rolls.
Mm.
But I would say that those were therapy sessions for us,
Absolutely.
for both of us.
Absolutely.
Iron sharpens iron, and we would sit for, even when we worked, still worked together before I left. I left before you left, but Cox. But even when we worked together, it was just like, girl, we need a moment. We need a moment from away from the madness, and let's go sit down and have some pasta. Let's go get some pasta.
Pasta heals all things.
Pasta heals all things,
Yeah,
and those rolls would heal all things, because we actually lived around the corner from each other.
Right.
That was another cool thing we discovered. It was like, wait, you live around there?
Right.
Yeah. So we lived around the corner from. But when you're stuck in your own head, you have a tendency to operate in analysis paralysis. And therefore, you overanalyze things so much that you just can't get past those things, and that's a horrible place to be. So, courageous me. Let's talk about emergence. Tell us about the name of that, because you have the greatest names for your businesses, and I know because I know you, so I know there's a story behind that. So, tell me about the emergence.
And how about that was the one thing I wasn't ready for. But the emergence
it feels like it's a superhero. Like, I feel like if I take a class in the emergence, that I'm going to come out better, and I'm going to feel like I'm a superhero.
Well, the emergence, the first one is emergence, breaking free of the mind.
Okay. I'm going to come out as a superhero if I break free of the mind. Yep.
And the premise behind the emergence is there's so many that want to, it goes back to everything that I believe, but so many are ready to step out on the grand stage, and, they're ready to speak, and they're ready to, just like you said, be that superhero. But are you really ready to emerge? So we do a little digging, and digging with and pulling out some of that stinking thinking that is hereditary, that has been with you all your life. Then you're ready. When you can change your mindset, then you're really ready to emerge. So it really is working on those areas within yourself before you emerge. Now you're ready to emerge.
Before you emerge.
Yes.
I love that. I really, really do. But you see, I'm learning. I'm learning a whole bunch. Okay. Let's talk about Kings. Now, that is spelled Kingz, right?
Correct.
Let's talk about Kings Publishing. What's going on? I mean, come on, girl. You got it.
I guess we haven't talked for a while.
It's been a minute. I mean, we've been busy. You've been busy, girl.
Well, Kings Publishing, it came about. My maiden name is King.
See, you got a lot of skeletons with you.
Well, that is what happened. My maiden name is King, and I'm the oldest.
Okay.
And so of course, when your father has girls, if they have sons, or the sons will keep. If you have sons, the sons will carry the name. But if you have girls, the name
you lose the name.
So I named it King in honor of my father.
Wow.
So it's Kings Publishing, and I went with the Z because there's a lot of Kings Publishing. But not only did I start it because with self-publishing, a lot of people are self-published, but I also wanted to help other people write their stories.
That's
back in the day, as my grandbaby said, back in the 1900s, we would have Sunday dinners, we had get-togethers, and everyone would sit out in the yard, or women would gather around the kitchen, and we would hear stories.
That's
But
true.
we don't have those gatherings as much. So
Mhm.
many of our stories are lost.
Yes. Oh, that's
And so
good.
I really wanted a place, and everyone's listening. Sometimes people will keep journals and stuff, and they want to tell their family history. And
Mhm.
so it's working with people to put those stories together in a book. So it is there for their family, throughout time once it gets
Yes.
written down. But so many of our stories are lost.
That is so
Write it.
true. I learned more about my mother in the last 30 days of her life um, than I did. And I was like, I think I was 44 when my mom passed away.
Mm,
So in that 44 years, I learned more about her in 30 days of my 44 years of life.
right.
And because she and I would spend hours, she passed in my home, and we would spend hours talking, just talking. And she was a very close and guarded person, so she wouldn't really like tell you a lot of things,
Hmm.
but that's kind of the mentality that we had when we were younger. It's not, of course, I mean, the older generation. It's not like we have now. We tell everything. We tell too much.
Hmm.
We talk about too much. We talk too much. And that's why I have a talk show, because I talk a lot, and I just need to get all my talking. I need all my words out.
Get all your words out.
I got to get all my
Absolutely.
words out. But
Absolutely.
mom just never told a lot of the stories, and she began to share a lot of the history, a lot
Hmm.
of stories, a lot of things that she endured as a young person growing up with me, that has helped shaped who I am, because I've
Absolutely.
always wondered, like, why do I think the way I think, and why do I do this, and why do I do that? And I realized that my mother was a really good planner,
Mm.
very, very good planner, because she planned her own funeral.
Wow.
She planned her own funeral
Hmm.
and laid everything out and had me, I mean, just she wrote her own obituary. I mean, who does that, right?
Right.
And so, but I realized where I get my thinking from when it comes from that. It's like,
Absolutely.
I got it from her. Like, I would have probably written my own obituary and
Right.
planned my own things going
Right.
on. But she mainly did it because she really said, I wanted you guys to not have to worry so much when the time
Right.
comes. That I
Right.
just want you to be able to execute it. So she did the work. So you're right. There are so many stories from our history, from our childhood, from our parents' childhood, that if we don't tell, it actually shapes who we are as people. And
Absolutely.
we it's important to tell the story.
And you're mentioning emergence.
Hmm.
It's and say if some people you had a good conversation with your mother, but some people don't get that closing conversation.
Oh
So now
yeah,
take it, they don't have that closing conversation, and now I become a leader.
yeah.
And now when I'm leading people, there's certain type of people I may be sharper with, other people I'm
Mm.
closed off with,
Hmm. Hmm.
because that now has become ingrained in me
Yeah,
and it's a part of me. And so often we'll say, well, that's how I am. But then you have to stop. Well, why are you that way? And
yeah,
is it still a part that you need?
yeah, yeah.
So actually, that's what the emergence classes
Yeah,
do.
that is so awesome. So, do you do any disc assessments in those? Do you remember? Did
Yeah.
you take the
Oh,
disc
yeah. I remember
assessment
them. Yeah, we did that.
at Cox? I think, what was it? It was either success style profile, something like that. You remember the one that gave us the color bars,
Yes,
and
yes, yes.
everybody used to have those outside their office.
Outside their office, and
So,
I remember, and I when she did, I said, that stuff, whatever. When they did mine, I was like, wow,
I was like,
she was right on
I
it.
was like, good Lord, this is my life.
Right,
And
right.
I'll never forget I had several bosses. Michelle and I both had several bosses that we supported. We were both senior executive assistants for Cox Media Group, and we supported a variety of executives. And one of them, Joe Naylor,
Hmm.
I remember because I was there with all my bosses and I did the disc assessment, and I'll never forget us being on that line where you had to be from 0 to 99. And I looked down and I was like, Joe, what are you doing way down there? And he was like, what are you doing way down here? Well, we realized through that disc assessment that it was about meetings and preparing for meetings, that we completely thought different. So
Absolutely.
he actually said to me later on, he said, I just thought you were bored. I just thought you just like, oh man, like you had a bad attitude for the Monday
Right.
meeting. And I was like, no, it wasn't a bad attitude, but I'm more structured. So I had to do all the reporting for the meeting. I had to do all of that. And when they would come in, and I love Joe, Joe
Yeah.
and I
Yeah.
are on, but when we would come in and have that meeting, we had the meeting at 11 o'clock, really bad time to have a meeting. And then it would take 20 minutes to ask everybody how their weekend was doing. They ate donuts,
Mm.
they did this. And I could really care less about the donuts and all those things. I just wanted, you know why I wanted to get the meeting started? Because it
Right.
was 1 hour before lunch.
Right. Right.
And that's the bewitching hour. And
Right.
my brain was wired. It's like, let's get this meeting done because I'm hungry.
Right.
And you start getting hangry.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
I
it's
know.
like 1 hour before lunch, and the meeting always ran over. So if you were going to lunch
Okay.
around
So my fan
12:30,
came.
oh
My,
yeah, you can fan, girl.
oh no. Okay. Go
Girl,
ahead.
we this is family. But it was so funny because he said, so I never knew that, Lynette. I always thought maybe, is she just bored? I was like, no, Joe, because I want to do the meeting. Like, let us talk about our weekends. Take the last 15 minutes of the meeting because that's not mandatory for me to be
Right.
there. So let's get the business done and be done. But that was how my brain was wired. And he was just like, let's have a party.
Right.
And I would be like this.
And and you are very fortunate that you worked with or for someone that you were able to speak
Yes.
about that. But not everyone is. So what's important is remembering once you learn what your drivers are,
Yes.
understanding everyone's drivers are different.
Absolutely.
And
Hmm.
taking the time, if you just listen to people, you'll come to, or observe people, you'll
Hmm.
come to observe what their drivers are. And if you're
Right.
working for someone and you could be working your tail off, but if
Hmm.
it's not part of what feeds them, you're
Correct.
always going to be at a loss
Yeah.
because they're
Yeah.
not getting what they need from you. And then you're like, you mean if I had just came in with a party planner, you'd have been happy? Oh, I did all these charts for nothing.
I did. I worked on all
Right.
these charts and
Yep.
graphs, and I had to do all this stuff, and we had to do status reports and on what's going on. But he would just
Yeah.
but that was how he liked to run his
That's
meeting.
how we like to run it.
And so here's the interesting thing. So let's talk about how you have to be agile and flexible, because you and I supported several people.
Yeah.
Therefore, I could go to a Kyle Vaughn's meeting and he would be like, pop, 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 pop. And I was like, yeah, let's get it. Our meeting was at 9 o'clock. We would get in, we would get out. He would be like, I'm not going to hold you more than an hour. Let's make it happen. Boom, 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 boom. I'm like, 9:45, I'm walking out the meeting.
Right.
We done got the business done. And then, maybe he might be like, y'all have a nice weekend or something like that.
Right.
So, but the personality styles were different.
Right.
And so it doesn't make it good or bad.
Mm-mm.
It's just that you have to be adaptable. And
And
so,
like you said, we would support. I think at one point I had 5 different
mhm.
VPs, and when I walked to the door of their office, I had to remember which style I was
What
working with.
style you were
So
working with?
people, I mean, literally talk about changing hats. I mean, literally from one office door to another. And I actually even talk about that in my book, that one person wanted to be micromanaged.
Mhm.
The other didn't want micromanaging. And then the other one wanted to know what you did for the weekend. So I had to learn to change at each door. And once I finally got it down, everybody was happy. But I had to
Everybody.
learn to be adaptable.
You had to be. And that's the
Not just
making
for
of a
me.
good leader too.
And right. Right.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
It's the making of a good leader, because you are able to multitask and juggle different personality types. And you're right. Like I had my Joe who just like, what's up? What's up? And then Kyle was like, hey, what's going on? But he would come out, he would just do his business. Jesse was another way. Jeff, remember Jeff?
Oh,
Jeff
yes.
was like, well, what's happening?
Yes.
And
Yes.
so, and then of course I supported Rich. And so, plus 100 other staff members, right?
Right.
So I had to also learn the personality of folks and just keep my finger on the pulse of the team.
Right.
But now we're crossing over. This is a good segue, right? This is a perfect
Yes,
segue
this is.
to talk about this phenomenal book
Oh,
that you
thank you.
wrote called Who's Rowing Your Boat? So
Who?
let's first and foremost start with the title.
Mm.
And how did you come about the title? I'm going to put the book up so that people can see the graphics, and they'll
Okay.
also be able to.
Get some water.
So there we go.
There we go.
Who's rowing your boat, and why did you pick this type of to show about boats and teamwork? Why the rowing?
You know, I'm trying to remember. I think I read, I don't know if I was watching. I really do like watching the rowing team in Olympics, track and
Mhm.
rowing. I don't know. But when I was writing the book, I actually wrote the book and then the title came to me because it made me think
Wow.
about how many different parts to a team there are.
Mhm.
And so that's what's like, who's rowing your boat really stuck with me because individuals, many times people say, I need to get a team together, but
Yes.
they don't know, um, they don't know their boat. I mean, if you look at the
No,
graphic,
that's true.
they don't. And it's like, I need to get a team together. Now, in this particular graphic, this is a row team of 5. But
Mhm.
in the book, I go through a row team of 8.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
every person has their purpose on the boat. Every person has a
Mm.
purpose. I thought they just all rowed. And I didn't realize not just at the beginning you see the coxswain, and that's the person who has their back turned, and they're
Mhm.
facing the team. And throughout my book, I kind of relate that to the executive administrator. We're really
Mhm.
not rowing; we are calling commands.
Mhm.
And then the next, going through each seat, I think I had to go back through my paper.
Well, how about we do this? Because
Right.
I have your book up. Okay, I
Okay.
have your book up right here, and chapter 1 talks about the administrative team, your crew. And
Right.
you really broke down something, and I want to read something from this.
Okay.
This is a row team. A row team is called a crew. Okay, a crew consists of rowers, and now it's how do you pronounce it? It's
Coxswain.
coxswain.
Hmm.
Okay, so a crew consists of a rowers and a coxswain, also known as the cox. The rowers in a crew sit with their backs to the bow or the front section of the boat. The rowers provide they're provided with what's called oars, right? In a crew of 8, the rowers are further split into technical class rowers. Now that's when I started going, hey, because I get it,
Right.
right? Um, there are those who keep the boat stable and balanced. Michelle, I just want to say, let me just give you a hallelujah high five on this, girl. Because I said, oh, she preaching right here. And those who are the powerhouse are in the middle, providing strength and power. There are those who are at the stern where the management duties are held. Then there is the stern, which holds the cox or the coxswain, who has the responsibility of steering and motivating the team during the race. Michelle, this one
Yes.
paragraph has blown my brains. I'm like, what? So let's break this down.
Okay, I do.
So
I have
let's
it
break
broken
this
down. I
down.
really do. Because when I go back over it, I'm like, girl, that was good.
Girl, I know. You'd be like, girl, did I write that? Oh my God, that's so
And the
good.
reason when you look at it, there is, and I think I don't know if I put it in my book or not, but there's a saying: if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, you go with the team.
Oh, good.
So you to understand it, and so often people are like, yeah, I know I need a team, but they don't know what they need it for.
Mm-hmm.
So when I look at the Cox, okay, that is, like I said, if you're looking at an organization, that is much like the executive assistant. So again, in the book, I go through a lot of what prepared me to be, an executive assistant.
Mm-hmm.
And then C8 is, oh, that one really, I really love that. Come on, I'm going to find it. I broke all this down. And you can tell an executive assistant is going to, a good one has too much paper. We have too much paper. Okay. So the first seat after the coxswain, they're sitting there and they're the one that's getting yelled at in the face. So they're taking the commands right from the coxswain. Now, the thing about the coxswain, they're the one that's looking and saying, this boat's over here getting faster. This boat's going here. Wait, you're starting to turn. You're starting to turn. Straighten up. So they're constantly yelling. So that first seat has to be one that can take the yelling.
Come on, Michelle.
The next one, the seventh seat, is called the first one is called the stroke. The second one is the stroke lieutenant. So they also are taking the yelling, but they're a little bit more taking some of the commands. The sixth, fifth, and fourth seat are the power seats. And for me, that would be like your finance people, your graphics people, and then your internet people.
That's good. I can see that.
Those three teams, you have them in the middle. There's the power. That's what's going to roll them. And then after that, number three, believe it or not, number three is that person on your team that they really aren't really strong at anything. So they sit them in seat 3 as they're learning because they're going to do the least amount of damage. Because you don't really always need to get rid of somebody on your team. You just need to put them where they're going to do the least amount of damage.
Okay. Wow.
And then seat 2 is your Joseph Nailers. Everybody needs the Joseph Nailers.
Everybody needs a Joe Nailer.
Everybody needs
I love Joe Naylor too. We follow each other on Instagram. It's so funny. And he always, his sons, I call him, I said, I love the Naylor boys. Yes. They always have a band or something going on.
But they're the rah, we can do it team. And come on, you guys, this is fun. You have to have that. And they're probably going to irritate the heck out of seat 8, but if they're far enough away to where they're not, right up on each other, but you still need them in your team.
Yes.
Because when I remember I had to plan an event, and I know who a particular type of Joe Naylor is that I had when I was planning a church event, and I had to go to work, and I'm like, I don't do this. Where is that person? Because they were the party planner. They're the ones that get everyone together. That's not me. And you have to know what you are and what you are not. So you need that. And then the very front, that person, think about it. They're the leader. They have the back. So if that boat crashes, they're going in the water first. They got to provide the balance for the boat, and they have to trust that the cox is giving the right commands.
Okay, so let's pull this picture back up here because I'm so fascinated by this. I'm so fascinated by this. Now this is one, two,
Now
three, four,
this is a 5
five.
rowing team.
This is a
I did
5
an
row.
8. Right.
Mhm.
But you still have the same. So you have the cocks at the
So here's
beginning.
the coxswain here, right? Is that
Right.
the coxswain here? He's the
Yes.
now interesting enough. I love this. Oh my God, I'll never look at rowing again the same. Okay. But here's the interesting thing is he can't see where he's going. The
Well,
coxswain can't see
no, the
because
coxswain can.
he
The
can
boat is
see.
going
Okay.
down. He can see. No one else can.
No one else can see.
No one else can see.
So
They have
he
to
has to
trust
call
him.
all the shots and they
He's
have to
calling
trust
the
him.
shots.
Okay.
He's calling the shots, but he does not have an oar.
Yes, because I thought they were going in this direction, but they're
Yeah.
literally going in this
Right.
direction here.
Right.
So they're rowing this way, and
Right.
he is calling the
The
shots. So
shots, but he does not have an oar in there.
He does not have the oar in his
He
hand.
does not have an
So
oar.
he
but
can't get in the fight and
Mm-mm.
help them like, oh, I need strength or we need something. He
Right.
can't get in.
Right.
His power comes from his commands.
Right.
Wow.
Right. And he's the smallest one in the boat.
So in physical size, he's the
Physical
smallest one.
size. He's going to be the smallest one
Really?
in the boat. Yes.
So the coxswain is the smallest person on the boat.
The smallest person on the boat.
That
Because that
is
boat
so
has to go
fascinating.
fast. So, you know, you're roaring. And then the person at the opposite end, all of them are depending on that one person that gives the commands. So again, in a crew or a team, a leader has to be able to pick people. Because a leader, if he's at the back, he's giving the balance, and he's got to trust that his power team are strong. He's got to trust that the second in command and the 8, the stroke and lieutenant stroke, can receive the commands from the cox, and he's got to trust that the cox is giving the right commands, because neither one of them, nobody in that boat is looking at the other boats. Their focus is on the cox.
So okay, so if this was a boat of 8,
Right.
so this guy would be called because I'm so fascinated by this, Michelle. I'm really so fascinated by this. So this guy would be called, now what's his name again?
Which one?
The first one, this one. So here's the cox, right?
Cox is at the top of the picture, correct?
And so here, and this guy would be the first person. So he would be your
Right.
number 8. So in this case, he's your number
Right.
4, which
Right.
he's your
because he's receiving those
direct
commands.
instructions in
Right.
his face.
Right.
You know what? I tell you what, and you got to be able to take it.
You got to be able to take it.
So here's something so interesting to me. I'm an old school TV watcher, and I love to watch Gomer Pyle.
Okay.
I love watching Gomer Pyle, and you know, he don't let Sergeant Carter like mess up his day. He don't let Sergeant, well, now, Sergeant, that's a good old thing. And so he can take what the sergeant sometimes will stress himself out more.
Right.
Because Pyle is not, Gomer is just like, whoa. So this person has to be really, really strong. We have a comment, Michelle. Okay, so this is from a gentleman named Michael Adamson. Michael Adamson? I know you. I'm not familiar with Michelle's work, but I received a LinkedIn alert from Lynette and had to see what was up. Lynette is an amazing woman, and I have great memories of working with her. Eternal Michael Adamson. Oh my God. What a happy accident in learning. I'm going to show this. Look at this. What's up, Michael Adamson? So yes, when I left Turner, I went to work for Cox, and I met this beautiful, beautiful sister. And she wrote this amazing book about who's rowing your boat. And Michael, this is such a great book for leadership. Michael Adams, boy, I tell you what, Adams, it is really, really great to hear from you. But so Michelle, let's get back into you breaking down the different people, because you said something about seats 3, 2, and then I guess seats 1. So you said you have to have a seat 3.
Right.
Okay, and that seat 3 is the Joe, our my favorite guy, Joe Naylor. He's
Oh
the
no,
guy.
that's seat 2.
Seat 2. So
Right.
who's give me who seat 3 is.
3 is the person that you need in your boat. Maybe it's somebody you hired and they didn't work here and they didn't
Oh,
work there. You don't necessarily need to get rid of them yet.
so that might be the person that's the trainee. They could be going
Yes.
through training.
Yes.
And so
Yes.
it's time. They've been trained or they're going through the training, but now it's kind of time to do that real life
Right.
training
Right.
because
And
they're
if
not
they
as
mess
strong.
up and they're not as strong, they're
Right.
not in a position to cause damage. The boat's
Okay.
not going to slow down because of where they are. Because you have the power rowers and then you're close enough to the head of the boat, which gives the
Mhm.
balance. So they're not going to hurt too much. And that's critical because that's important to me because so often we think we just have to get rid of somebody
Okay, that's good.
because they didn't fit. And quite often
Mm.
I say, and I mentioned in the book, but did you know what you were hiring them for? Number one.
Mhm.
And number two, they may not fit for what you were thinking. That doesn't
Correct.
mean they may not fit somewhere else, you know? And quite
Mhm.
often when you have somebody that you hire them and they don't fit, that's usually because expectations of the job
Mhm.
wasn't clearly defined. And if they're a divine, like I said, meeting you was a divine assignment.
Yes, it was. I love you to life, girl.
And we didn't know where we were going to fit in each
No,
other's life,
no.
but we stayed in the boat of each other's life.
Oh, that's good,
And we're still
Michelle.
going. I'm gonna give myself a love offering on
Yeah,
that.
you girl, you are what? What's your cash app, child? That thing was good.
But and that's the way it is in life. Not the boat of life. To be
Yes.
honest, everybody has a purpose, and you and I, we don't speak every day
No, we don't.
or
But
every
you know what?
week.
I don't do that with my true
Right,
friends. I don't have to
right,
talk to them every day because
right,
we all on our grind trying to get our things going on,
right.
doing what we've got to do. But girl, when we catch up, when
But
you'll be
catch
like,
up,
girl,
we
let me
catch
just
up.
catch up. And we catch up, we'll be on the phone for 2 hours,
And
which
we
is
we
catching
think
up.
we fit because
And
we
we
know
fit.
each other's, we know the strength, we know what each
Yes.
other is building, and that is the longevity of that type of boat. So the thing in many people in business, when we talked about all those seats, you don't
Hmm.
have to have all those seats in Roar Media. I don't have to have
Correct.
all those seats on the payroll in Courageous Me. I
Hmm.
need all those seats in my life.
Oh, that's good.
Not
Yes.
that they don't have to, because now there's so many different components and we have a lot of entrepreneurs.
Mm.
So we're not saying hire all those people, but you do need those people in the seats. I have different people I can go to. I
Hmm.
have my CPA. You know, he's in a particular seat in my life for my
Hmm.
business.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
and that is like, do you have all of these people in the
Michelle,
right
that's
seat?
so good. That's so good because the title of this show today is Who's Rowing Your Boat?
Right.
And so who's the team members? And you know what? Sometimes we have to listen. I've I've hired a whole new group of rowers, but I
Uh-huh.
had to also get rid of a few of them out of my
Right.
life because
Right.
they were not as focused on the prize.
Mm-hmm.
They were not as focused on the end goal. And so it's important to ensure that everybody that's on this team is, because you know what? If you got a person in your boat that is distracted, you ain't going nowhere. You're not going to be as
Right.
strong as you need because if I'm over there looking at, well, y'all look at the other boat. Now you have
Right. Right.
distracted
Right.
everybody on the
Right.
boat to take their focus off of rowing to
Right.
look at, oh
Look.
yeah,
Yes.
what's going
Oh,
on
that's so
over there?
true.
Oh,
That's
the
so
water is
true.
so blue today.
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
let's check the temperature.
And if
Oh,
you
it's a nice
notice,
temperature.
remember I said that my book is set on the 8-person crew, but the picture is 5. you may only need a
You may
person
only
crew.
need
You
5.
made an 8-person crew. It all depends. You just need to know, again,
Yes.
what you need, because if you
Right.
have them in the wrong place, and I've had people, I said, well, why did you hire that person? Well, they said, they could do this, this, and that. I said, but
Mhm.
is that what you needed done? Well, no, I needed that. What did you tell them?
Yeah.
So, and that happens a lot.
It happens a
People
lot.
want a team, but they haven't decided what they needed for their company. And so they bring on people, and that's when you see them having to restart a whole
Mhm.
crew. And that's why, again, seat 3 is important, whether it's
Mhm.
my business or in my life. Maybe it wasn't for this. And that's why cutting off, I'm really not with this cancel culture. I don't
Mhm.
believe you cancel people. I just do
Mhm.
not believe you don't
Mhm.
cancel people. I didn't bring you into my life. God did. So I
Yes,
don't have a
yes,
right
yes.
to cancel you out of my life.
Yes.
Now, where I seat you in my
Right.
life, that is up to
That's
me.
and sometimes you don't make it in the boat.
Yeah,
Sometimes you don't make
yeah, you just
listen,
stand on the shore
you
and
can
wish as well, right?
when you think about a basketball team, I'm a big basketball fan. So when you think about a basketball team, there's only 5 people that play at a time,
Right,
right?
right,
But that doesn't mean that you don't have a bench over
right,
here. And
right,
so you can practice with the team, you can work out with the team, you can do everything, but sometimes you won't make it into the boat. And
right.
it could be for a variety of reasons.
Hmm.
Spiritually, mentally, physically, financially. I mean, I don't think
Right,
financially, but
right.
but there's you said something the other day when we were talking. You said it's not my storm.
No.
And
Yeah.
I've been thinking about that a lot because a lot of times we will see the person in our boat who is focused on every storm that comes along. And you and I are women of a certain age.
Hmm.
And I have to be honest with you, I've gotten to a point in life where
Like, it's not my
I've had
story.
to
I don't care.
filter a lot of stuff out,
Right.
right? And so I had to, when you said that to me, I flew in from Mexico. I think we were talking shortly after we both came back
Hmm.
from vacation.
Hmm.
And I think we both kind of missed the storm a little bit.
Right. We're on the outside of
And
Ian. You're
we were
right.
right. And we were both chatting about that. And I realized, although I had some effects of the storm of Ian because I flew in on Monday when Ian was still out in the Caribbean. I flew
Hmm.
into Fort Lauderdale and I was being affected and
Hmm.
almost got stuck in Fort Lauderdale if I didn't get out of Fort Lauderdale before Ian came. So share that concept because I told you, I said, I'm not going to let you forget this. You said sometimes it just ain't your storm. And I
Well,
was
so for
like,
people
girl,
don't, so people know, I was on, while you were flying, I was on a cruise, and it was where we were coming back at the tail end, Ian. It was blue sky, beautiful water. But that, I've been on many cruises, and I've never been on where a boat has rocked that hard.
Mhm.
And people were, I mean, most people were in their cabins because they were getting seasick. You couldn't walk the boat. People had to leave out of the swimming pool because the water was sloshing out. It was pretty intense.
Oh, wow.
And as I was sitting there, the Lord said to me, you are feeling the effects
Mm.
of a storm, but it's not your storm. The effects are strong, but it's not your storm.
It's not
And
just
we're
storm.
talking about how often we feel the effects of someone else's storm and will take it on as
Mhm.
our storm. And we
Mm.
do have the effects, but it's not our storm. And
Yes,
there is
it's
a
not
difference.
our storm. There's a difference, and
Right.
I know that I had to learn to say, and I think it comes with saying no sometimes. It's like it
Hmm.
doesn't mean that you don't have empathy or sympathy for that individual or even that person's going through a storm. Because
Right.
my best friend was with me, Sharon Burke, and she lives in Tampa. And so our very last day of being in Mexico, I mean, she's thinking her mindset has shifted now to
Right.
listen, we got to get ready for the storm. We got to get
Mhm.
sandbags. And as I was relaxing the day after I came back from vacation, she was packing sandbags to try to prevent her home from being flooded during this storm. And so although I can pray for her and I love her, and if I could remove her out of harm's way, I would, but it really wasn't my storm.
Right.
And so a lot of times I think when we're selecting leaders, when we're selecting people to put in the boat, we cannot have a person in that boat that is really going to be affected by every storm that comes
Right.
by. And you've met those people yourself. They take on, they just think, oh, there's a wounded bird. Oh my God, the bird is wounded. And
Right.
be like, baby,
Right. Right.
let God handle that bird.
And
But
then it goes back to knowing who's rowing your boat, who's in your boat.
who's in your boat?
And that means you have to spend time with people. You have to get
Good.
to know them because, again, you might not be good for my boat. Maybe my friend has a canoe you
Yes.
could go get in. You may
Maybe
be
there's a
perfect
party
for
boat.
them. It's
Maybe
a
there's
party
a
boat,
party boat.
yeah, there's many other boats. And like you said, it's not against them. But if they're not working for
Mhm.
me, and I always put the onus back on the leader, if they're not working and I'm
Right.
the one that brought them in, I
Correct.
have to look at what did I miss so I don't miss it again.
So you don't miss
Because
it
I
again.
know I need certain people in certain seats. What
Yes.
do I need? And then going back to what we talked about earlier, when we start looking at our own life and like my, my mother, she was a nurse, but she was very analytical, and I have a tendency to
Mhm.
be analytical. And then people are like, Michelle, let it go. And I'm like, but being analytical is what got
Mhm.
me to being a good executive assistant. And
Exactly.
that may work for that boat, but it may not work for
May not.
relationships and being warm and fuzzy. I might not work there. So we have to know, okay,
Mhm.
what happened? Well, I was raised with this particular type of mentality. Okay. So
Mhm.
now I know maybe these are the type of boats I shouldn't work with, and maybe these are the kind I can. Because people say, well, you change. You can only change so much. You are who you are. But once
Mhm.
you're aware of it, you can make some modifications.
Yes. I think that is so cool because just like there's different roles and positions inside of the boat, it's important to be able to identify who has the making to be, as you said in here, the power to be able
Right.
to be a powerhouse. Because I
Right.
may start off being, in one position, I might be in seat three, right? But now I'm learning how to become a power
Right.
middle person, a person that can go because of the
Right.
strength I put in the time. So when you think about being even on your job, it's like you go through different phases where you go through and you get promotion
Mm-hmm.
on your job. And so it's important to look for that and be able to focus yourself on a career path that will help you be able to say, my goal is to be a power person. So now I do all the things that I need to do that. I eat well. I train. Speaking of Kyle Vine, he and I used to go to Orange Theory. I don't know why I let Kyle talk me, my boss, let Kyle talk me into going to the Orange Theory with him at 5 o'clock in the morning. Lynette, you
Yes.
should go to Orange Theory. And I used to wake up and go to Orange Theory, and I would see Kyle, and he and I would run on the treadmill, and we would be in these teams, but it was great team building. But one of the things that we had to do, Michelle, is row.
Oh,
We did a lot of rowing in Orange Theory in this
oh,
course, in this
okay.
class. And rowing is not a very easy thing
It's not.
because you row a couple good times and before you know you're like, oh yeah, yeah, and you would
Right.
see your stats up on the wall. And so you're rowing, and so you're rowing against other people and teams, and after a while it's like, I can't even breathe. I can't breathe. And it's so amazing that you may get conditioned, but the more he and I did it, the more I got stronger. And of course, our other boss, Rich Reese,
Mm-hmm.
was a runner, and I could never run. I'm a cycler, so I will cycle, but I will not run. And I in this Orange Theory class, I was learning to run. And I'll never forget telling Rich, who's like, I don't think I can do this. Like, I don't think I could do this whole running thing. My back hurts, my
Mhm.
shins hurt.
Mhm.
He says, it's your shoes. And I said, it's my what? He said, it's your shoes. So he talked about your equipment.
Right.
So, being able to be equipped with the proper equipment to be able to run the race, to be able to be in that position. So I could have, like, if you think about this as a job, I may not have been ready and fit and proper to go in that position that sometimes I think I'm ready to go in.
Right.
Because I don't have the equipment. I didn't do the training for it. So talk about that a little bit. A lot of times people just want to jump into a role and they're not trained for it.
Oh, wow. There could be so much for that. But one of the things that I say again, and this is why it's pretty much a leadership book, is I question leaders that allow people to step in roles that they're not ready for. I mean, there's role there, you can grow into it, but sometimes putting them in too far is a recipe for failure. And now you have an employee that's failing, and then they're feeling some kind of way because they failed, but they really weren't prepared. And it was interesting when you were talking about you and Kyle, you were rowing together. Think about what you did together. You built stamina together. You learned cadence together.
Oh, that's good, Michelle.
You did these things together, even though you weren't prepared. So often, if somebody comes in a role into a team, because even though when you came to Cox, you knew what you knew as an executive assistant, but you had to learn Cox's way.
I had to learn
Cox's way.
Think
about it, that's a lot of what we did. I had to teach you Cox's
way,
not what you knew from Turner.
Correct.
And
it was two different entities.
And so the big thing I've noticed is people, which sometimes is sad, is when someone comes in, if you see they're not there, take them along, bring them along and show them this is the way that they do.
Oh, you showed me some.
It doesn't
from how to even use the coffee machine, girl. Like, let's go down here and get some coffee. Now, here's what you don't ever do. You don't ever do this.
Right. But And unfortunately, we don't always have a lot of people that will bring another person along that way. And that goes in, whether it's inside an office building or entrepreneur or whatever. We've lost true mentors along the way.
I think that's good. I wrote something down, putting a person in the wrong spot. Sometimes as leaders, we see a void there, and then we want to fill the spot, even though we won't have the patience to wait until we get the right person. We just want to fill a head count. That's what we call it, head count.
Right.
And we just I want a body. I want a head on a bed, I want a butt in a seat, and we don't have the right person.
And sometimes you have to, like, if you're starting a business, you might have to start with your sister, your cousin, or someone to fill that role until either they learn or you find the right person for that role. But then you have to realize if that's the case, that's great. That's where you have to start, but you're not ready to compete yet.
You're not ready. Oh, Michelle.
So don't put your boat out there to compete when you're not working with the full competitive team.
High five you right there. High five. Because your boat's not ready to get into competition.
Yeah.
And I think we put our boats out for too fast.
We put our boats out too fast.
And we don't have the right team. We don't have the right crew, and then we want to compete.
And even with people, entrepreneurs, how often do you see they want to get a website and a SAM card, and they have a business? And you're like, no, that's not a business. That's a website and a SAM card. You don't have, you don't have a business.
What you said, a website and a Sam's card?
Yeah.
Because I can go buy stuff for my business. I can got a business. No, I think that is really good.
Yeah. And then mentoring and showing people, again, it's not just the corporations, even entrepreneurs, your brand. Are you ready to put it out there? Do you have again, you don't may not have them on the payroll, but do you have the contacts? Like when
Mm.
I first started going out speaking, I called you. You put that deck together. I'm still working from that deck you put together for me. Annette is
Oh
awesome
man, I
with
do like
decks.
putting
Okay.
together. So for anybody who doesn't, a deck is a PowerPoint. So
Oh yeah,
I'm like a
yeah.
PowerPoint
PowerPoint.
queen. I kind of,
Yes,
and
PowerPoint
I
queen.
wasn't always PowerPoint queen, but Michelle, we saw the greatest decks as executive assistant. We as senior executive assistants, we got to see the greatest decks. I used to work for the chief information officer at Turner Broadcasting, and so people would always present up. And,
Hmm.
and in our roles, we very rarely had to do decks
Right,
because people were always doing decks and
right.
submitting them. But I was my mama taught me, I was raised that, she taught me good. She was just like, girl, keep your eyes open and your ears, keep your eyes open and your ears open, and you'll learn a whole bunch. And so I would take the decks and I would save a copy for myself,
Hmm.
pass one on to the boss, and I would take it apart,
Right.
literally take it off. And I taught myself how to do PowerPoints and how to do decks. And so she's talking about so you still working off that deck. I think you might need to come back to me and let me freshen you up a little bit.
Probably, but it works for me. But
It works.
part of, and just using that as an example for leaders, one of the things I talk about in the book is a true leader doesn't have to do everything.
That's
So
true.
I can do a deck, but if I know you're the PowerPoint guru, why am I going to spend hours,
Hmm.
which for me, hours equates to money because time is
Hmm.
money,
Hmm.
trying to put together something mediocre
Yes.
when I already have in my boat a
Mm.
person that I know can get it done?
Can get a deck
Why do you
done.
do that?
Yeah.
And so often people try to do everything
Hmm.
themselves. That's
Yes.
one of the
Yes.
biggest challenges I see with a lot of leaders today. I must get it done myself.
Well, yeah,
No,
because they think I have to do it. But here's the thing that's
right.
interesting, Michelle. You're going to either do one of two things. You're going to spend the time or you're going to spend money. And
Hmm.
we have to know that. We have to know and
Right.
understand that you're going to spend time on the project. And if
Right.
you can't and you don't have the qualification to spend the time on it, then you must pay for
Right.
that person to actually do that. But then it comes back to making sure that you have the right person with the right credentials that can be in your boat when you are paying them to do
Right.
that.
That would be
So,
like seat 8 all of a sudden saying, I could be the cox and
yeah,
get up, go to the front
exactly.
with their wide butt and tip the whole boat
And tip
over
the
because
boat
I can
over.
yell commands. I can do it too.
Oh my God. So there is like, so, and I never knew, and thank you for that. I never knew that the cox is a smaller person. So are they almost the smallest person on the boat?
Yes.
They're the very small,
Yes. It's
smallest
a
person
very
on the
one.
boat.
Yes.
Because they're kind of sitting on that little
Right.
little end of the boat. So they're
Right.
not literally inside of
No,
the
they're
boat.
not.
They're on the
Yeah.
tip of the boat.
And they're not rowing.
And,
Remember,
and they're
everybody's
not
got to
rowing.
carry them. So they're not rowing. But
Everybody
nobody's
has to
going anywhere if
carry
they're not
them.
doing their job.
Oh, Michelle, this is so good. I love, love, love this. So they are the smallest person. So here you, like you said, so then you'll have a person who may say, well, you know what, I can be the cox. And so I will just, push the cox off their little seat and say, because they love shouting
Hmm.
commands or they like
Hmm.
giving instructions. I
Hmm.
remember talking to someone one time and I said to them, oh, you know what, maybe what you should do is take some time and do some research. And I was teaching them how to partition their week and how to
Hmm.
plan their time and plan their week. And I said, and I call it my Trinity. Okay. So I work in Roar, I work on Roar, and then I work on Lynette. So I
Hmm.
break my week up like that. There's
Hmm.
days in my week that I work in Roar. There's days that I work on Roar. And then there are days that I have to stay. Every Friday is a personal development day for me. And so
Okay.
in that personal development day, I read, I learn new things. I go to a lot of podcasts and trainings and I go through seminars and things like that. And so I was sharing that with this person. They said to me, I don't need none of that because I just tell people what to do. I'm good at telling people what to do. I was like, see, then that person would want to try to be a cox and they are
Yes.
too tall, they're too big, and they will never be able to do it. Michelle,
Right.
this has been so good. And we could talk. I can't believe we've been talking now over an hour. And so we could definitely talk again. I'm going to have you come back
Okay, I didn't know
because
that.
we just haven't began to tip the surface or scratch the surface of your new book. I'm going to put it back up again, and it is Who's Rowing Your Boat by Michelle K. Small. What does the K stand for?
King. My middle, my king.
Okay, King Small. Okay. Okay, girl. It's available on Amazon, and I would love, love, love for you guys to follow my friend. So here is her information on Facebook. Follow her, get connected with her. Are you having any classes coming up soon?
I will be having classes this month for Emergence. The first couple of them will be online. I'll be doing them, and then I actually will have a Saturday class, an intuitive
Okay,
workshop, and
great,
those will be
great.
out soon.
So you'll let us know when that happens so that we can
Absolutely.
promote you and do that. Michael Adamson, it's so good to see you. He has another comment out here. He says, as someone who has built teams and highly values them at all levels, I'm saying amen to all you've said. I
Oh,
just downloaded your book and look
thank
forward to it.
you.
Thank you so much, and God bless Lynette, both of
Oh,
you. Please, Michael,
thank
thank you
you.
so much. I love this man. Oh, and by the way, Michael, I was going to tell you, you're one of the first people that told me that I needed to go to Napa Valley. I finally took that trip to Napa Valley, and I enjoyed myself immensely. So we had one day a long conversation about Napa Valley and
Oh,
and the wine train and
oh
things like
yes.
that.
Oh
And I
yes.
finally had a chance to go, Michael. So thank you very much. And I
Mm.
thought about you, and I saw the wine train. Well, thank you so much,
Oh,
Michelle,
thank
so much
you.
for coming on and blessing us with your story. And I just want to say that I thank God for you. And I know that you're going to do great things
Oh, thank
in the
you.
leadership world. So if you're watching on Facebook, if you're watching on YouTube, if you're watching on LinkedIn, like Michael did, download the book. If you want it quick, just go ahead and I put it on Kindle because I just keep all my books on Kindle,
Right.
and I downloaded it. So please, please, please get a hold of the book. Michelle, what would you say to any leader, any ministry leader, business owner, entrepreneur, before you go tonight? Give us some words of wisdom.
One of the things that I've really been embracing is, as being a great leader, it's not about having the best strategy, the best PowerPoint, even the best team. It really comes down to who you are at your core.
That's good.
Who you are at your core will come out, and that is how you produce a team.
That's good. That's good. Thank you, Michelle.
Thank you
You will
for
come
having
back
me.
again, right?
Yes, I will.
Awesome, awesome. Love you to
Love
life
you
as
too.
usual. And we still are on for one of our dinners
Yes, we
because
are.
that's like hours.
That's ours.
That's hours. That's an hour time to
Yes.
sit down over some pasta. And
Yeah.
well, maybe we might need to do a little bit more healthier meal than pasta now.
No.
We're gonna try. We're gonna try.
We'll try.
Love you to life, and
Love
thank you
you.
so much for being here.
Thank
Hey, everybody, thank you so much. I just had one of my best friends, Miss Michelle Small, on from Courageous Me, and she wrote this amazing book. I'm going to put it back up one more time. It is Who's Rowing Your Boat? It's available on Amazon. Do like Michael Adamson did and actually download the book and support her. She understands what she's talking about. She knows this, and you can see how she broke. I learned so much about rowing and a row team tonight. I tell you what, that it was just amazing. So I just really am super, super excited about that. So I really want to say to everyone, thank you so much for supporting this. Like and share this podcast. And remember that God loves you. I love you. But most importantly, learn to love yourself. Bye for now.
You've been watching Speak Out Loud, the story behind the brand with your host, Lynette Jackson. Please like, share, and subscribe to this podcast. And until next week, don't forget to use your voice to speak out loud.